Hey guys, I'm not feeling too good today. I got at least 2 fans blowing on me, and I got a serious stomach bug. And one of the worst times of the year to have one. But that doesn't stop me from giving edgy commentary delivered from my mouth straight to your hearing holes. So listen up. U.S. companies have been warning Trump's tariffs could hit their results. A host of U.S. consumer companies have warned that costs related to tariffs on goods imported from China would weigh on their results. The United States increased tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods to 25 from 10% in May. President Donald Trump has also threatened an additional round of tariffs on $300 billion worth of goods. That would cover nearly everything imported from China to the United States. Best Buy Co. Incorporated. The impact of tariffs at 25%, proposed to be enacted, will result in price increases and will be felt by U.S. consumers, CEO Hubert Jolly said. That's an interesting name, Hubert Jolly. Literally J-O-L-Y. But then again, there's actually people named Lovejoy, if you can believe it. There's some crazy-ass names out there, believe me. But Home Depot Incorporated, if the latest round of tariffs hold, it would increase annual cost of goods sold by $1 billion on top of a $1 billion hit that the home improvement chain has taken from tariffs imposed in 2018. The impact from new tariffs would still be manageable, as it would make up less than 1% of total sales, said Edward Decker, Executive Vice President of Merchandising. JCPenney Co. Incorporated. We do anticipate a more meaningful impact on both our private and national brands if the potential fourth tranche of tariffs does go into effect. CEO Jill Saltow. Kohl's Corp. Tariffs will primarily hit China-sourced merchandise in home and accessories business, but apparel and footwear are not impacted at this point. The department store chain said about 20% of the merchandise is sourced from China. Yeah, I really wasn't surprised when I heard about this originally a couple days ago. Excuse me. It's kind of old news, but really, I wasn't surprised by this. Because we all knew that a lot of companies, JCPenney, Home Depot, Best Buy, although fortunately not Ace Hardware, which is what I like to go to when I need something done for my house, is not dependent on China or Chinese imports. But so many companies are. I mean, here, look, even Walmart. High tariffs will lead to higher prices for customers. CFO Brett Biggs told Reuters in an interview last week. He said the company, known for lower prices, will try to minimize the effect of the levies on the company and its customers. Macy's Incorporated. The increase of the third tranche from 10% to 20% on May 10th, does have some impact, particularly on our furniture business. However, the team anticipates that this can be mitigated. CEO Jeffrey Jennett told investors on a conference call on Wednesday. To some extent, this is their own fault, see? Because, I mean, if Pearl Harbor taught us anything, it's that you do not put all your eggs in one basket. Or hell, you don't even put most of your eggs in one basket. The fact that they're this dependent on Chinese imports for certain products, they're basically putting, as far as certain products, they're putting all their eggs in one basket. So this is partly on them. The egg is on their face, to some extent. But it's too early to comment what we think that's going to mean in terms of potential price increases, what categories are being more effective than others, stated Jeffrey Gennett of Macy's. Ralph Lauren Corporation. The tariffs enacted to date over a limited impact on our business, but our teams are prepared for multiple scenarios and have accelerated the diversification of our supply chain to mitigate the long-term impact of any potential tariff outcomes. CFO Jane Nielsen told investors on a conference call last week. Crocs Incorporated footwear estimates an impact of about $5 million in 2019, assuming a 25% tariff takes effect. The company also expects the amount of U.S. products sourced from China to be below 10% for 2020. It now imports about 30%. Like I said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Our current sourcing mix reflects our need to balance ramping up incremental supply to meet the growing demand for our product, and continuing our multi-year effort to reduce our sourcing from China, the company said in a statement. Del Monte Foods Incorporated, it's not just tariffs, transportation costs are up, labor costs are up. CEO Greg Longstreet told Reuters at a conference in New York last week, it's an inflationary environment. A lot of that's going to have to be passed on. Consumers are going to have to pay more for a lot of critical goods. Del Monte has already raised prices on many products, including mandarin oranges, that it imports from China, and will do so again with tariffs rising, he said. My main concern with this is, will my Chinese orange sauce for my faux chicken, because I don't eat meat, will my orange sauce cost more? Because damn if I love orange sauce. Like, I remember back when I still ate meat, it wasn't ever the orange chicken. It wasn't the chicken itself. It was the orange sauce. It's delish. Although, come to think of it, that might be processed. It might not have very much real orange in it. As a side note from this story, maybe people should consider eating less processed food, regardless of your creed, vegetarian, vegan, what have you. I think you should probably seriously consider eating less processed crap. And who knows, I mean, a lot of that stuff does come from China, so that might have an impact. Although Japan imports a lot of processed garbage too. Still, it's not government's place to manage your dietary habits. That's your business. But yeah, I mean, this is just a result of what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket, and then the basket decides that it doesn't like your government, and they have a little tiff. Now all your eggs are smashed. It's partly the company's fault, but it's also probably true that Trump maybe should have taken time to consider the consequences of his actions, as should we all. And he should have realized that something like this was going to happen. And if prices on products rise and continue to rise, eventually people will become very upset, might even become reasonably angry, and this could hurt Trump's approval rating to some extent. It certainly will. This will have an impact. Similarly, it may also hurt his chances for re-election, depending on how high prices end up going as a result of his virtual tomfoolery with China. This could also end up hurting people's pocketbooks and maybe even add to their debt if they just can't let go of certain products. Which I know some people are very weak-willed, and they just feel this need to buy all this stuff. I mean, look at all this stuff behind me. Look at all these material goods I have, right? Well, guess what? I've owned these for years. I haven't bought a new thing in a little over a year now. I can go for years without buying almost anything. So, if people were a little more frugal, I think their lives would be a little happier, but that's just my opinion. A related story to this. The United States imposes sanctions on Syrian businessmen tied to Assad. This is related because it's part of Trump's foreign policy in regards to business. The United States on Tuesday slapped sanctions on Syrian businessman Samer Faz and his family, who have close ties to President Bashar al-Assad, and who Washington said has made millions by developing properties on land seized from those who have fled the Syrian war. Wow, this guy actually kind of sounds like a real creep. I'm not kidding, this guy sounds hella creepy. That is just a really creepy thing to do. That's like Frost in Dragon Ball Super, but on like steroids. The sanctions were being placed on Faz, his siblings Ammar and Hussein, and the family owned Amman Holding a company run by the Foz family from the coastal city of Latakia. Okay, that sounds made up. The U.S. Department of the Treasury said Foz owned ASM International General Trading and its affiliates throughout the Middle East. We're also included in the sanctions. ASM is involved in grain and sugar trade and oil field operations. Grain and sugar. Commonly enjoyed by many a person. That could make you very wealthy, very powerful, very quick. If you get enough consumers, and it'll be easy for sugar. Possibly even easier for grains. Put the two together and you get a breakfast cereal. Seymour Foz, his relatives and his business empire have leveraged the atrocities of the Syrian conflict into a profit-generating enterprise. Sigel Mandelker, Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, said in a statement, the U.S. Treasury said it was also sanctioning Synergy, Sal, and BS Company. Does BS Company sell actual BS? I mean, which have imported tens of thousands of metric tons of Iranian oil into Syria. Oh god, I thought they were actually going to say something about bullshit. But, yeah, selling Iranian oil into Syria. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I don't really approve of sanctions in general. But I will admit, this guy does sound like just like the biggest creep. Samar Foz sounds like the biggest creep. This is a really creepy dude. I mean, he's literally profiting off of pain and suffering of the Syrian people. Which is not necessarily illegal in of itself. And may not even necessarily be outright immoral. But it is absolutely an incredibly cheap and disgusting business tactic that will only serve to compound people's already existing suffering. It's sort of like the land barons in Japan post the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Kind of makes me think of that. Where like the housing barons were trying to sell people back their land after it was destroyed at like a premium price. You know, this is something kind of similar to that. It's hella disgusting. That is incredibly disgusting. Like, if you live in Syria or in Iran or anywhere in that part of the world, you should boycott this motherfucker like nobody's business. Samar Foz, if you're watching this sincerely, fuck you. You know, I was having doubts about Trump's policy on sanctions and tariffs going all over the place. But you know what? I'm a little more sympathetic to it now. Certainly not in the case with all those U.S. companies who had Chinese imports. I guess the point here is that there's really kind of an upside and a downside to a little bit of everything. Right? There's always a positive and there's always a negative. If you only see one at first, rest assured if you look hard enough, you'll eventually see the other. Anyway,